Well, hello, everybody. It is Friday. It is the Inspiration Station live here with your CEO, none other than your Chief Encouragement Officer, Joshua Lennox. It is August the 21st, August the 21st, August the 21st. Y'all, this is the month of new beginnings. That's what 8 stands for. And I believe that I have been seeing a lot of new beginnings start internally as well as externally. And I don't know about you if you feel that same way, but the time again is moving swiftly. And I just pray that that also is relevant and also parallel to your life, how you're moving swiftly in multiple areas of your life. Some things that have been on delay, some things that have felt stagnant, felt like you've been in a standstill for a long time. You've been waiting patiently for a lot of things. I pray that this has been a month that you're starting to see those things begin, those things you've been waiting on. The momentum has built for so long. Those behind the stage moments have been happening, and now it's coming to fruition right in your face. It's manifesting right before your eyes. So I want to get right into today, y'all. I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad to be alive. Anybody else out there just glad to be alive? I'm glad to be able to breathe, to speak, to see, to hear, to taste. You have a roof over your head. You have food. I mean, you can move your body. Hopefully, everybody has the activities of their limbs. The things that we often take for granted that we should be so mindful of and have gratitude for every day, each and every day. Your talents, your gifts, your skills. So many things, your family, your friends, your businesses, or whatever that you're attached to, just to be grateful for all things, even if things are not exactly where you would like for them to be at the very moment. Be able to count it all joy no matter what. You're dealing with challenges. I know you are. We all do. We're dealing with things that are coming at us each and every day, but that's because we what? We overcome what tries to come over us. So if this is your first time, y'all, please, let me back up. Please continue to like, please continue to share, subscribe. Share, like, and subscribe. Continue to do that. Share this with family, share this with everybody in your phone, your email database, on your social media platforms. I want to continue to just not only encourage, inspire, and motivate people, but also to get people towards movement, even if that movement means I'm starting to change my thinking before I change my actions to go actually do something. If this is your first time, I'm so glad that you're here with us. The Inspiration Station is literally where we inspire one another, but we also inspire ourselves. We're open, we're honest, we're vulnerable with each other, but greatly with ourselves because the relationship that's often neglected is the one that we have with ourselves. There will be guests that will come on here that will give us some nuggets of wisdom and give us some tools for our toolbox. But at the same time, at this moment, there's been some pivoting going on, some transitioning going on. And what I want to just encourage each and every one of you is when things start to shift, don't get scared. Don't stop. Don't, even if it's a pause in some ways, continue to go forward. Continue to be consistent. Continue to show up no matter what it looks like. I don't care if everything is lining up perfectly or if certain pieces are still trying to be put together. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep being consistent in whatever you're doing. Don't show up when everything seems to be going great and so exciting and so much to celebrate. Show up when it doesn't feel so good, when it's trying sometimes, or when things are unsure or uncertain. Continue to show up. So, let's jump right in, y'all. What I want to talk about today is grieving who you were and giving yourself space for grace to do so. Grieving who you were and giving yourself space for grace to do so. I know some of y'all are like, wait a minute, grieving who I was. Isn't grieving about other things when we talk about death or something like that, death of a loved one? Not necessarily, because sometimes we aren't grieving a person, we're grieving a version of ourselves, a lifestyle, an identity, a dream, a routine, or a season of life that we had become accustomed to. A lot of you, I'm pretty sure if you've noticed, even I like to hear people talk about ever since COVID, their life has just changed. And that could be in some areas been very favorable and some not so favorable. And sometimes the hardest part isn't leaving the difficult season behind, it's learning how to receive, trust, and live in something better without constantly expecting the other shoe to drop. What I want to even mention with that is that when you start to move into a new version of yourself, a new life that you're building for yourself, it's easy to start thinking like something bad is going to happen. Something is going to come around the corner that I'm not expecting because this is so new. And what if some of the new is some great things that you've been desiring and wanting for a long time, but because you have grown accustomed to a certain space in your life or a certain lifestyle, it's causing you to become panicky a little bit because you can't dictate what things are, and also because you're so used to things being a certain way. Now that they've shifted, and even in your favor, it's like you almost need grace to receive the very things you've been praying for, you've been asking for, and these are great things, but you've been so used to things being a certain way. So, first thing I want to mention is that nobody talks about this kind of grief. Can I get a witness? Can I get an amen? Nobody's really always talking about the grief of who you were, the person who's no longer here. You remember sometimes I've talked about when you're going into a new season of life, you're like in an orientation, you're like in a training. So it's like one side of you is over here and the new side of you is here, and it's doing like this. Sometimes you have to come into agreement with whether you want to go to this new version of yourself, or does that become a tug of war because there's some parts of you that wants to remain where you were because you might be afraid of the unknown, afraid of what this is going to cost you, because it's always going to cost you to go to another level in your life. You got to leave some things behind and embrace some new things, and some things that might be extra weight put on you, extra responsibilities put on you, cause you to be more accountable to some things. We always pray and ask God to give us such great, vast things, and you should pray big, pray specifically big. Ask God to do the impossible. Whatever seems impossible to you, He can do it. Pray for those huge things, because when He does grant certain things in your life, you will notice it's going to require more of you. You want more, it's going to require more of you. So there's always some level of cost. So going to this new life sometimes might not be something that's such an easy transition. It might cause grief. The five stages of grief are anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and also acceptance. You can simultaneously go back and forth between those stages. And you might be like, why would I be angry? I might be angry because I don't have full control. I might be in denial because maybe I feel like I'm not worth this new life that has been presented to me. Maybe I'm depressed because I'm missing certain things. I'm nostalgic, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Maybe things are not going as like I thought they would go. Also, I might be bargaining because I'm doing all of this what ifs. What if this happens? Or what if I would have stayed here? Or what if I would have done that? When we talk about nobody talks about this kind of grief, we talk about grieving people that usually we've lost, usually in death. But we talk about grieving relationships, jobs, homes, and opportunities. But what happens when you're grieving you? And I know it's kind of creepy, like, I would grieve me? Yeah, you. The you that used to exist, the life you used to have, the person you had become just to survive. And think about how you can be grateful for where you are and still miss where you were. You can know that you're growing each and every day and still grieve what you left behind. Sometimes I know in my own life, I'll sit back and have moments, and I have over the course of my life, where there were certain seasons that were so exciting, so productive, so full of things on my schedule that I love to do. And then when those seasons ended and I went to another season of my life, I would kind of get a little teary-eyed. I get a little crying moments, and I'm like, wait a minute, this now where I am is so it feels so dull, and all I'm doing. I remember going from uh, singing, dancing, acting all the time, and then I was working a job as well. But I was always in rehearsals, always in practices, always performing. And then there came a season where I was just in school. Getting my master's, my first master's, and then when I got my second master's, it was like the same thing. And it was like I was doing minimal. It was tough for me. I was very isolated. I wanted to be I was used to being in the public eye. I'm used to performing. That was like oxygen for me. If y'all remember that from a couple of episodes back. And I would grieve sometimes those old times, and I would be wanting to go back. And I'm like, I want to go back to that. But then also, I was ignoring in the present how I was being equipped with other skill sets, other gifts, other things were coming out of me that would be needed for the future, even where I'm sitting right now before you, not knowing that this would be of a greater cause for me down the line, and that things were not over yet. It's just this was a certain season. Number two, y'all, what are we actually grieving? What are you actually grieving when you're talking about the you that you used to be? And this is why, let me say this, and this is no offense to anyone. I love everybody, each and everybody. I don't judge people. What I do notice is that you'll sometimes see older people that are still dressed like they're young. And it's because they're trying to recapture those moments, those times they meant something to them, and they want to go back to them as much as possible. So again, think about that parallel in the mind of what example I just gave, where somebody could literally be aging and going on with their life, but they're stuck. They want to be stuck back where something was a certain time because of the memories, because of what it meant to them. And it's hard for them to move forward. And sometimes we don't want to miss out on who we're becoming because we want to stay where we've been. What are we actually grieving? Who we used to be, the life that we thought that we could have or we would have by now, relationships of all kinds or communities that we once belonged to, a formal level of freedom, energy, confidence, identity, dreams that changed, familiar routines, things you were just so accustomed to doing for so long, the version of yourself that knew how to survive a particular season, and you felt like that was where you were so strong, you had so much courage, and you were in that zone. And now you might be in a place where it's like, I'm having a tough time. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, even though you've done it before. So it's like, I want to go back to who that person was. And also, even difficult seasons that, despite being painful, they became familiar. You became used to certain pain, certain hurt, certain disappointments. And it's like now going into this new level, maybe this is now where I'm going to see a lot more accomplishment, a success, internally and externally. And maybe this is unfamiliar to me, so you might end up trying to sabotage it. Really quick example, y'all. I literally just went back to, I have not sang publicly in a year. And I would sing all the time, and my voice was very strong. When you don't sing, and if you're any singers on here, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or musicians, when you don't sing for a long period of time, for me, it had been singing around the house and stuff. That does not count because you can sing in your head voice, or you might have moments where you sing full out, or maybe not. Your voice starts to get a little weak. That muscle, it's a muscle, so it gets weak, and so you have to work it again. I recently started to sing again and getting back out into doing it, especially with ministry, and it's a challenge. And sometimes it's like, oh, this has happened to me before, y'all. And it's kind of like I have to always reestablish my courage, reestablish my confidence, and also realize I got to condition my voice. So it's going to take just a little minute, and sometimes quicker than others, but to build that muscle back up so that I am more confident in what I sound like, knowing my abilities. It's almost like you question yourself, like, you do know what you're doing. It's just you got to keep working it. And that can be very challenging. And I want you to think about any instances in your life where maybe you've stepped away from some things and you've had to get back into it. And sometimes it makes you question yourself, you doubt yourself, and you just realize, I just got to keep showing up, just got to keep working this muscle or whatever that is. So that I don't revert back thinking like, man, well, see, I know who I used to be and who I was. It's like, but also as you're rebuilding and stepping into something new this time, there's something new added to who you are that you didn't have before, even if you don't see it immediately. The key thing I want you to take away with this point is sometimes we're not grieving because we want to go backward. We're grieving because forward requires us to say goodbye to something that once felt like home. Yes, we're grieving because forward requires us to say goodbye to something that once felt like home. That thing hit deep right there. I know some of y'all probably like, yeah, that's good. Number three, y'all, the symptoms of unrecognized transitional grief. This is again grief that we deal with as we're shifting into this new version of ourselves, shifting into this new life, shifting into this new career, whatever you want to call it. This could be where you start to feel feelings you feel unusually emotional or nostalgic. You start going back down memory lane, but you stay there a little too long. You might feel irritability or frustration. You feel disconnected from yourself because again, you're starting to remnants of who you were are fading away and you're walking into this newness of you that you don't know yet. You're starting to compare your present to your past. You feel like something is missing, even when things are going actually very well. There's a difficulty in celebrating your progress. You probably start criticizing yourself. You're thinking you're not where you should be, or knowing that you have more in you than you should be doing, versus looking at what good things you're doing at the very moment. You're wanting to retreat into old habits. You want to go back into old things that you used to do because, again, that old self is calling out to you because that's familiar. That was home. And again, this newness is causing you to become a little anxious, maybe even depressive, panicking. Also, someone who is often dealing with uncertainty or the unknown, you almost probably want to start feeling like you're in control of something. So when you want to be in control of something, you probably retreat to what you know well, which can be old habits. You feeling guilty for changing. You feel like you're almost probably betraying yourself. Like, well, wait a minute, what's so wrong with me? Why am I feeling the need to change? It's like, well, a snake sheds its skin at some point. It's still a snake. I don't even want to think about that, but you're still yourself. But there's some things that you're shedding off of you that can no longer go with you where you're going. You start questioning whether you've lost yourself. You have fear around new opportunities. You get new things brought to you, and it's almost like you want to just step away, you want to retreat, you want to run, you want to tuck tail and run because it's something that's requiring new things, new way of thinking, new way of showing up, new way of performing, new way of executing things. Also, you might be self-sabotaging good things because they don't feel familiar. If you're used to things being somewhat, like I said, dealing with disappointment, dealing with fears, dealing with being hurt, dealing with certain levels of pain, you don't, when the good things start happening, it's like, wait a minute, something in me is telling me that I don't deserve this. Something is telling me within me that I'm not worth this. Something is telling me that I'm not valuable enough to withstand something, or this, that I'm probably having a difficulty with being receptive to what's rewarding. I'm probably having a difficulty. I did not even put this in my notes. I am probably having a difficulty being receptive to what's rewarding. Okay. I want you all to, when we're talking about these things that show up, when we're going through these transitions of going from what was to what is now, not every uncomfortable feeling means you've made the wrong decision. Sometimes discomfort is simply your nervous system adjusting to unfamiliar territory. Number four, y'all, we leaning with it and we rocking with it. I want you to think about the paradox that you can miss what was and still choose what's next. So grief doesn't automatically mean that you should return to where you were. Just because grief shows up doesn't mean, oh, something's wrong. Guess I got to go back to where it was. Let me go back to ground zero. Let me go back to that state. Let me move back to where I was. Let me go back to that career. Let me go back to that old relationship that probably hurt me tremendously, but it's familiar. Missing something doesn't mean it was better. Missing something doesn't mean it was better. That might have been what was great at that point, but where you're going is so much greater. God takes us from glory to glory. We don't live this life where we go from one level and then drop all the way down. Now, your circumstances might drop in certain areas, but that does not mean your life does. You're always going higher, never going down, never sinking. Nostalgia isn't always direction either. Just because you're thinking about memories and you're cherishing things that were very good, cherishing the times in your life, doesn't mean that you need to get in your car and drive back to that, to whatever that was, to recapture those memories. You can honor what something meant to you without reopening the door to it. Some people, I hear it all the time with clients, they'll be feeling like, their old ex-husbands or wives or any boyfriends, girlfriends were, well, it wasn't always so bad. And they started reminiscing and being very nostalgic on what was good. And then next thing you know, they're, well, I didn't mean to call them, but we went out on a date and this and then they're reminded right away, like, why did I do that? Because it's the same thing. And it reminds me why I kept that door closed and why I had to transition to a new life. The key thought in this, y'all, is I can appreciate who I was without requiring myself to become that person again. I can appreciate who I was without requiring myself to become who I was again. Number five, y'all, space for grace. Say it with me. Space for grace. Give yourself space for grace, y'all. Give yourself permission to adjust, to feel, to rest. I know none of y'all like to rest. Y'all feel like you got to be grinding and keeping it moving and doing everything. You can't sit down for too long because you're lazy and you're procrastinating and everybody's gonna have something negative to say about you. But learn how to adjust, feel, rest. Don't suppress your emotions and your feelings. Learn, make mistakes for crying out loud. I don't know anybody who's wise and who's an amazing person or a successful person who hasn't made many mistakes. That's how you get wisdom. Become unfamiliar to yourself. Sometimes say, oh, you know what? I don't know who I am. And I have said that, y'all, within this past year. I have said, I'm like, I don't even recognize who I am sometimes, which is a good thing. It's a great thing. It just causes me to have to adjust and then say, okay, who are you at this moment or this season in your life? It's not that I'm like saying I don't know who I am as Josh. But who am I becoming? A lot of things have changed about me. A lot of things have changed about you, your surroundings, the way you think, the way you act, the way you speak, maybe even your diet, maybe even your routine, your outlook, your vision, your talents, your gifts, your abilities, people you spend time with, all kinds of things. Celebrate small progress. Don't wait for some big kaboom, something to happen for you all of a sudden wanting to pat yourself on the back. Don't do that. If it is, even if it's like I didn't cuss somebody out today, well, praise God, I'm gonna celebrate that. I decided not to engage in a certain conversation I felt was unhealthy for me. Let me celebrate that. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning and went to the gym even though I didn't want to. And y'all, that's something that I'm gonna leave that alone. But celebrate small progress. Every small step is a big step. And last thing I want to say is not ha don't have every you don't have to have everything figured out immediately. I know some of you all struggle with uncertainty and unknown and the outcomes of things, but you don't have to have everything figured out immediately. Sometimes just coast. And when I say coast, coast with wisdom. But put yourself on cruise control sometimes and just allow yourself to sit back and take the ride versus you feeling like you need to know exactly every turn. You need to know exactly every stop. You need to know every intersection in your life. Just sit back sometime and put yourself on cruise control and let God lead. That doesn't mean that you're going to be just sitting back doing absolutely nothing, but let God lead you in things. You don't have to have everything figured out. Also, what the line I want you to take from this is you don't need to punish yourself for not immediately knowing how to live in a life you've never lived before. You don't need to punish yourself for not immediately knowing how to live in a life you've never lived before. You're in a place, or you're entering a place that you have never seen before. Have you ever gone to a building or a state or a city or got on a plane for the first time? Whatever it is, you do something for the first time. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't really know how to accept this. I don't know how to be receptive to something because it's new. But I don't have to punish myself because of that. I don't immediately need to know what my surroundings are like. I don't immediately need to know what my plans and my goals are going to look like. I don't need to immediately know how to show up for each and everything either. Point six, y'all, we almost done. I promise y'all. Stop holding your breath. We almost there. When good things feel unfamiliar, I want you to become aware when good things feel unfamiliar. Sometimes people spend so long surviving difficult seasons that peace feels suspicious. Sometimes people spend so long surviving difficult seasons that peace feels suspicious. Anybody been like that? To where you've been just pushing, it's been challenging, challenge after challenge, and then all of a sudden there's some level of peace, and it's like, oh, what's wrong? I'm feeling like I'm okay. I'm a little happy. I'm laughing a little harder than usual. Wait a minute, I don't feel that tension so much. So what's wrong? And it's been because you've been in war, you've been fighting, you've been pushing, but you also been working and you've been winning. But now that you have a level of peace, it's like something's wrong, and it's not. That just means that you become accustomed to chaos, disappointment, rejection, struggle, waiting for something to go wrong, and having to fight for everything. There's something healthy, stable, consistent, or even beautiful arrives, and you just don't know what to do with that. You start overthinking stuff, you want to push it away. You might even create problems where there are none. You expect abandonment, so you expect for people to just vanish, leave, or you expect for things to leave. You start questioning whether you deserve things. That's like the imposter syndrome. The facts are there that you deserve to have great things, and you just can't see it. So you start questioning everything. You also start to sabotage things before you have the opportunity to actually know that you're safe. Sabotaging things before you actually have the opportunity to realize that it's safe. Things are safe for you. If I could give you a line from this, y'all, it's just sometimes you don't sabotage the good because you don't want it. You sabotage it because you haven't learned how to trust that you haven't learned how to trust good things yet. I'm gonna say that again. Sometimes you don't sabotage the good because you don't want it. You sabotage it because you haven't learned how to trust good things yet. Sometimes your trust has been broken because your heart has been broken. Your trust has been broken because your faith in people or things following through has been broken. So when you start to see good things come up, it's going to take time maybe for you to see consistency with it, to know it's not going to be taken away from you, to know that you're not going to be forgotten about, to know that you still matter, to know that you're worthy, to know that you're valuable just for who you are, not because of all the things that you can do. And maybe that's some part of who you were, always thinking that your value and worth was tied to what you could do for people, not just showing up and being you, just being present. That wasn't enough. Last thing I want to give you guys are just a few steps for moving from what was to what is and what's to come. First thing I want you to start learning to do is name what you're grieving. Don't minimize it. Don't you make small of it. Don't you shrink. Don't minimize it simply because you're moving forward. Okay, you're moving forward. So we're not going to minimize what you're grieving. Name that thing. Am I grieving a past relationship? Am I grieving that I haven't seen my family? Am I grieving a loved one? Am I grieving how my confidence was? Am I grieving who I was in a season, how I was more in the public eye? Am I grieving an old job? Am I grieving an old business? Am I grieving an old church home? Am I grieving where I used to live, where I grew up? That I'm no longer there. And whatever these things are, I'm no longer there. Number two, honor what that previous version of you did for you. Okay? Honor what that previous version of you did for you. That version may have survived things that this current version had to that wouldn't have never had to face. You've been through things that this version of who you're becoming didn't need to face. So you had to take care of that ahead of time, before now, in order to get here. So that person who you've been, honor that. It took a lot to be who you are even today, and those previous versions of yourself are a part of that. If you hadn't had those previous versions of yourself, you wouldn't be where you are at this very moment. Number three, stop confusing familiarity with identity. Just because something was familiar doesn't mean it was where you belong. It was a season. It was not to last a lifetime. Okay? Just because something's familiar does not mean it's tied to your identity. Some people have a very strong familiarity with where they grew up, their hometown, and that's their identity. I used to hear it all the time. I mean, I've heard it all the time. I'm from this place, I'm from that place, I'm from this. So it's like they identify with that. Now, you should remember your roots, absolutely, definitely. But just because something was familiar, your surroundings, where you grew up, or whatever things were to you in a certain season in your life, it does not mean that it's where you belong. Like that's where you're supposed to remain, or that's where you're supposed to have again, your identity, your personality, meaning that that's where you come from and that's who you are. That's not true. Number four, allow yourself to adjust. You don't have to master your new season overnight. Give yourself a minute. Like I said to y'all, give yourself space for grace. Allow yourself to adjust. It's going to take some time. Practice receiving. Number five, let good things be good without immediately searching for the disaster. Let good things be good without immediately searching for the disaster. You waiting on something. It's like maybe because you've always been the giver. You've always been the one that's giving output. Allow yourself to receive and give yourself grace with that too. Number six, resist the urge to self-sabotage. We're not doing that because when something healthy feels unfamiliar, just pause before assuming something is wrong with it. When something healthy feels unfamiliar, just pause first before you assume something is wrong. Number seven, give yourself space for grace. I hope that if nothing else you take from this, I know it's going to be, I'm going to give myself space for grace. Yes, you are. Make sure you extend the same grace. Give us, let me back that up. Extend yourself the same patience that you would give someone else who is learning how to walk into a completely new life. Give yourself that space to say, you know what, I'm going to take my time with this. I don't need to rush myself past this. I don't need to treat this like this is a task that needs to be completed immediately. This is something I'm walking out. This is something that I'm now walking to live in. I'm changing my shoes in my life. I like that grace shoes, my shoes of grace. Actually, it's shoes of peace in the Bible, but but y'all, I want you to be very mindful of just giving yourself a little patience and be kind to yourself. To close out, y'all, you are allowed to become. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Every day you're becoming if you choose to. You are allowed to become. You have the absolute permission to do so. You don't have to hate your old life to embrace your new one. You don't have to hate the person you used to be to become someone different. And you don't have to rush through grief simply because the next chapter is beautiful. So it's like I'm trying to hurry up and get through this process so I can see the what's the bright side on the other side of this stuff. Take your time. It'll cause you to appreciate when you do get to these more beautiful things and great things. It'll cause you to appreciate what you had to go through to get there and who you had to become to get there, who you had to develop into to get there. And you don't have to sabotage something good because hardship is what you've known. You don't have to sabotage something good because hardship is what you've known. My last thought, you guys, and I got a takeaway. Yeah. One last thought. Y'all enjoying this? I hope you are. I hope that you're sitting with this. I hope you are analyzing yourself in a healthy way. Just not analyzing. I hope that you're reassessing and reevaluating your life and your space, your thinking, all those things. But give yourself space for grace. You're not just leaving something behind. You're learning how to live with what you've gained. who you've become, and everything that's still on the way. If I could give you one takeaway, is that grieve what was, honor who you were, make peace with what is, and give yourself permission to receive what comes next. Grieve what was, honor who you were, make peace with what is, and give yourself permission to receive what comes next. All right, y'all, that's it. That's all, folks. We're going to give ourselves space for grace, and we're going to allow ourselves to learn that it's healthy to grieve who we were. But as we're doing this is a transition. We're not staying in one place. We're moving forward every day. Each and every day of your life, you are allowed to become, as we mentioned, right? So, if I could give you a real quick recap again, this is something that nobody talks about. This is the kind of grief that nobody talks about. Make sure you identify what you're actually grieving. Recognize those symptoms of your transitions of things of going from who you were to who you are becoming. Also, realize that you can miss what was and still choose what's next. Give yourself again, y'all, what is it? Space for grace. Recognize also when good things feel unfamiliar. Okay? So, I love you guys. Please make sure you share this to each and every person that you know in your life. So that should be going out to a lot of people. Whether you're live right now on LinkedIn, whether you're live on YouTube or live on Facebook. I want to let you know that I appreciate you. I hope you've enjoyed your time with me. I hope that you are going to allow yourself to sit with this. You might even have to go back and watch this, but allow yourself to sit with this because this is also going to move you towards action of who you're becoming, meaning your choices are going to change, how you show up in relationships, what you want to do with your career, where you want to live, how you want your family to look. What your next 5 years in your life, what you're hoping for, even at the same time, recognizing you're in a process that's happening right now. If y'all go back to remember when I talked to y'all about an assembly line, that's what happens when we're going from one state to another. It's like you start at the beginning of that process, and by the time you're done at the end, you got all these different things you've acquired, and you're remodeled in a sense. I like that. You're a car in a sense, but you're remodeled. You got all these new parts about yourself. You might even have a new color. But there's something that's being manufactured differently at this time, and you're gaining something. So you're not losing anything. The only thing you're losing is the parts of you that no longer serve you for what's next. Okay? I love you all tremendously. You better know it. I hope that you all have an amazing rest of this Friday and great rest of your weekend, y'all. I can't believe, I don't even want to say it, y'all. September is like knocking around the corner. Lord have mercy. Anyway, it's going to be a fantastic remainder of this month and this year, you guys. I promise you, this year and all the things that you've been through have not been in vain and they're not being wasted. This is catapulting you to a place that you've never been before, and give yourself grace, space for grace, as you're entering into new territory that is not, it's strange. And the new territory doesn't always have to be outside. It could be inside of you too. So you've always been great, and you're getting better and better as you're becoming. I like that. We're going to leave it right there. I will see you guys next Friday right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please spread the word, and y'all better show up. Keep showing up and pay attention, because even with the Inspiration Station, things have changed and they're not the same. And they're going to continue to change, and they will not be the same, just as you are. So love you guys. Spread love now more than ever. We need it more, and it starts with you. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.